Hey everybody, I'm Jack Reeder with the Future Pastimes, and I'm a designer on the expansions for the classic Dune board game, the 2019 edition from Gale Force 9. And there's a question I've seen come up on Board Game Geek as well as on the Dune Facebook page. And that question is, why would you ever want to keep your own leader's traitor card when you are picking traitors at the start of the game? So at the beginning of the game, you are going to be dealt 4 traitor cards. This is my traitor card box. It holds all of the traitor cards in it. And you're going to get 4 of these. And every once in a while, when you're dealt 4 traitor cards, you say, oh, look, I was dealt one of my own leaders. Why would I ever want to keep my own leader? Well, let's start off right off the bat. Most of the time, you're not. You're not going to want to keep your own leader. If you are the Bene Gesserit and you've been dealt one of Yui here, you want to make a mental note. You might take that leader disc and sequester it behind your shield from the other leaders, because you know that nobody else was dealt that leader, and that traitor card is just going to go back into the deck where it will remain out of play for the rest of the game. So you don't ever have to worry about it. You know that Wana is safe, and if you need to use a battle where the stakes are high enough that you must guarantee that a traitor call won't happen, that's when you're definitely going to use that leader. Maybe you use her all the time until she gets killed. That's up to you. But with the expansions, there are now a couple of scenarios where keeping your own leader actually might not be a bad idea. So let's talk about those. Now, the big one, the most obvious one, is when you are in a game with the Tleilaxu. So the Tleilaxu have an advantage here called face dancers. So at that start of the game, when everybody is dealt their 4 traitor cards, the Tleilaxu is not dealt any. Everybody else goes through this ritual of getting their 4 cards, picking the one that they're going to keep, and then returning the others to the deck. At that point, the deck is shuffled, and then the Tleilaxu player is going to draw 3 of those traitor cards. But these are not going to be traitors for the Tleilaxu. They're going to be face dancers. And the idea here is if any of these leaders is in a battle and that faction wins the battle, the Tleilaxu can then reveal the face dancer traitor card and say that, yeah, that leader was not really Princess Irulan. It was a face dancer. And the Princess Irulan leader disc will be sent to the tanks if she wasn't already killed in that battle. And any of the surviving Bene Gesserit forces in that territory will return to their reserves and be replaced by Tleilaxu forces. So it's a big deal. And now you can see perhaps the value of saying, well, if I was dealt Wana Yui as the Bene Gesserit, maybe I hold on to her, because that way that leader traitor card is not going to be shuffled back into the deck and then will never end up in the hands of the Tleilaxu. Because the other thing is, let's say that the Tleilaxu, and they're drawing their 3, and they get a bunch of their own leaders or some other low-value leaders. At the end of every game turn in the Mentat pause, the Tleilaxu can say, well, I'm looking at my unrevealed traitor cards, and I'm going to choose one to shuffle back into the deck, and then I'm going to draw somebody else. So they might get lucky and get a new one. They're like, oh, look, I got Reverend Mother Romalo. And that's much better than having, Blinn or Wick or one of the Tleilaxu's other leaders, which is never going to really be a face dancer for them. So that is one way that keeping your own leader is a little bit of a safety net. So you don't have a traitor at this point. If I am the Bene Gesserit and I've kept my Wana Yui card, it's only as an insurance policy, so that I have one guaranteed safe leader that cannot be called as a face dancer, and never will be, because that card would never get shuffled back into the deck. It's only one safe leader, but it's out of circulation, and that's the important part. And so there may be times where if you're that paranoid about the Tleilaxu choosing one of your leaders or getting one of their leaders and then keeping it, and that leader winning a battle. A lot of times what happens with the Tleilaxu in the game, everybody tends to select high-value leaders. So if you're dealt 4, you'll take the strongest one that's in there, or possibly one of their own leaders for safety. And everything that's left in the deck are low-value leaders and Tleilaxu leaders, by and large. So those leaders are not likely to win battles, so you're less likely to get a face dancer call. But sometimes you're only dealt high leaders, so there's going to be 3 high leaders that get shuffled back into that deck regardless. The other thing is something that showed up in the Chomerichess expansion, and that's part of the leader skills deck. And there is a skill in here called Rahani Decipherer. And the way this works is leader skills in general, at the start of the game, before you've even drawn traitors, you're going to be dealt 2 of these leader skill cards, and you're going to choose one and assign it to a specific leader for your faction. You're going to put that leader out in front of your shield so everybody knows which leader has a skill, as well as the skill itself. And this is going to raise the stakes in a number of ways, and the leader skills have a pretty interesting impact on the game. All of the cards will have an effect which can be applied to all of your leaders as long as your skilled leader is out front. And then another effect that applies specifically to that leader, usually when they're used in battle. So let's look at what the Rahani Decipherer card does. So while this is out in front of you, and so let's say that I've got Wana Yui as my leader, and I've put her out front. Everybody knows that she's the Rahani Decipherer. And I should mention that you're choosing these things before the traitors. So that has a big impact on the traitor thing as well, because now you can look around, and if you're dealt somebody's leader who has been publicly displayed as a skilled leader, they might make a more attractive traitor. But then you can also see if you luck out, and I've chosen Wana Yui as my skilled leader, and then I was dealt her traitor card, I might be like, yeah, I definitely want to keep that, so that I know that it's going to be safe, and I know that this leader, the skilled leader, is safe as well. But back to this. If you win a battle, and Wana is out front, secretly peek at 2 random cards in the traitor deck, and then reshuffle it. So the Rahani Decipherer is going to give you information about safe leaders, and maybe you'll be very lucky and you'll draw one of your own leaders and be like, oh, now I know that Princess Irulan is not in anybody's pay there. She's not been kept as a traitor. And even with the Tleilaxu in the game, you will know that she is currently not a face dancer. That may change later on because, again, at the end of every game turn, the Tleilaxu can try their luck at getting a better leader to have as a face dancer. But it's good information, and even if you don't get your own, that's information you could sell to somebody else to say, like, how would you like to know, Emperor, that one of your leaders is safe, and which one? What's it worth to you? But when you use the Rahani Decipherer in a battle and that leader is not killed, if you win the battle, you may draw 2 traitor cards from the deck. So you're not peeking at them, you're drawing them. And then you're going to keep 1 card by revealing an unused traitor card you hold, and then shuffling it and the other card back in. So let's say that you've drawn a card, you've got whichever leader that you've drawn. So maybe it's Count Fenring or somebody, who knows what it is. You've got that leader, and now you've won a battle with your Rahani Decipherer. You're getting to draw 2, and you may get a better choice of somebody to keep. So you have to reveal one of those 3 cards that you're not going to keep, and then you're going to shuffle that, and whichever other card you're not going to keep back into the deck. So this is a way for you to basically change who your traitor is, and you're also getting some information. You are having to reveal something to everybody, and maybe you're revealing your own leader. Like, oh, I'm going to reveal Wana Yui. So yeah, at this point, as long as you haven't revealed a traitor card at that point, that's not the one that you could reveal. So let's say that I had Count Fenring, right? And I called him in a traitor, and he was killed, and I won that battle, and it was great for me. But the game goes on, and I have won a battle as a Rahani Decipherer. I'm going to draw 2. I cannot reveal Count Fenring as the one that I'm revealing, but I can return him and get somebody else, or I can at least make the Emperor believe that I may have returned Count Fenring. So a distinction, but nevertheless, this is another reason why maybe you want to keep that traitor. And what will be interesting is you will know if somebody has the Rouhani Decipherer, because this happens before traitors, as I mentioned. So you'll see like, oh, you know, the Fremen have a Rouhani Decipherer, and I've been dealt one of my own leaders. So maybe you keep that leader, because again, there is a chance that, you know, you think you're looking at that leader now during setup and you're thinking, well, it's going to go back in. If I don't select it, no one's ever going to draw it. Somebody might draw it. The odds are still pretty low. So I think most of the time, if I had a really juicy, like, oh, I've drawn Feyd-Rautha or Stilgar or something like that, I'd be like, I gotta choose that one. I gotta keep that leader, because that could be a really important. There's a good chance that that's going to be played at some point. And even though I've drawn my own leader, maybe I'll put that one back in and just hope that the Rouhani Decipherer is not going to win a lot of battles with that specific leader. And that's the thing. They've got to use their Decipherer in the battle and win it in order to use that ability. And then will they draw my leader? You know, it's just going to depend. Maybe you say, let me form an alliance with that Rouhani Decipherer, and then I never have to worry about it. Same thing with the Tleilaxu. Maybe you form an alliance with them. They can still call Face Dancer on your leader. I know, because I've done it to my ally. I just thought it would be fun to replace their forces with my own. The leader had been killed anyway, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But there you have it. So, as I mentioned at the start, most of the time, you don't want to keep your own leader. Just make a mental note that that leader is safe, because unless you've got the Rouhani Decipherer or the Tleilaxu in the game, it's not going to come up. So you'll be safe in letting your leader on the traitor card go back into the deck and keeping somebody else so that you can call traitor. And I think, and I've also heard it mentioned from some people who don't like the traitor mechanism, I think it's one of the best things in the game. And it's really thematic. And so if you don't like the traitor mechanism, it may be that thematics in the game is not your highest priority. But yeah, I mean, spoiler alert, it's very thematic. So I love the traitors. I like the Face Dancers as well. And of course, I like the leader skills. I'm highly biased. That's how it is. Let me know your thoughts in the comments if you have any. But that's answering that question. Why would you keep your leader? Most of the time you don't, but sometimes maybe you do. And I've done it myself. I thought, well, this is a good leader. One of my own leaders is really good. It's maybe more important to me to have that guarantee of a safe leader than it is maybe the traitor will come up. Most games, you don't have very many traitor reveals. Some games you have none. Every once in a while you'll have a bunch. You're like, holy cow, it's crazy. And like everybody was dealt a Fremen leader and they all chose it. Well, that's going to go bad for the Fremen in that game for sure. But most of the time it doesn't happen. So it may be worth more to you in the right circumstances to have a safe leader. That's it for this one, everybody. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.